You're listening to Polymatic.media, episode 26 for October 15th, 2017. Welcome to the Polymaticast. Hey, John, how's it going?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm tired, but that's more my problem than it is yours.
I've recently recovered from a cold, so yeah. A cold that lasted almost 2 weeks.
Wow, that's not good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got the flu shot, right? And so that affects me in a mild way at best. And so that's been going on for me this week. But this is the time for me, and whatever I am allergic to starts kicking in around here. And so that seems to marry itself into a general problem for me throughout the fall and to winter, and so.
It's the season of stuffy noses and coughing and other people being gross. Yeah.
Yeah, well, not so gross, just congested sometimes. Just sort of like not as happy about my breathing as much as I want to be.
Yeah, I maybe get one cold a year max, and now I'm happy this has been it, and I hope it's not going to happen again this year. But
yeah,
it's just at the beginning of autumn, so I'm pretty much yeah. Okay, so we've both been watching Star Trek Discovery.
Yes, I have.
And I think for the first 4 episodes that we've seen, the next episode is going to be when this releases. So I don't know what's going to happen on that. I've got some points on it. I've got some things that I like, some things that I don't like. So yeah, I think it's a good topic for today. Have you what is your general opinion of it? Do you think it's good or bad?
Well, that's a good question. So I like that they have production quality and production value put into this. They're not doing it cheap, and they're not just trying to cash in from a profit machine. As much as the original Star Trek classic was pretty quirky, it had its good moments and its good writing in there. This, again, despite its cheap production. But even then, this was miles above whatever was cheap back then, or the original Flash Gordon or whatever, right? So in context to its time, it was a little above average, but it was better written than the average sci-fi, at least given that consideration. So let's roll it up forward. So the world is way more modern, right? And production value, they spit out vapid teenage vampire werewolf fantasy shows like There's No Tomorrow.
Forgot glitter.
Yeah, that glitter with high production value and pretty people, right? And they do that very well. And so the level of special effects and all this stuff isn't so. The barrier for entry is minimal if you got money or willing to spend money. And when you go back to something like The Next Generation, okay, so the late 80s, yeah, some of the effects were nice. Yeah, you take a look at Riker and you take a look at Deanna Troi and some of those characters and they go, oh my God, in perspective, this was horrid. But again, in its context of time, it was a little hokey, but it was a big improvement compared to nothing that was on TV. So...
Yeah. It was an improvement over the original series, but,
Yeah, sure. So, and then, even though when you look at from storyline's perspective and, context to the era of time in which this is, the plot is happening, it looks way better than Next Generation does, right? Because it's just modern technology and look and feel. So,
especially for a first season, right?
Yeah. So it's grittier. Do I hate that? No, not exactly. The thing here is that it's a different storyline. They're trying to stay rooted in the classic universe and do something with it. So I'll give them credit for that. Do I love all the subtitling reading I have to do for the Romulans? No, not really.
For the Klingons, you mean?
or Klingon, sorry. Yeah. But they are making them look, I think, and I'm not the expert on this, but I believe they look more like what the original Klingons look like from the classic series. So they're keeping to that, and that's fine. That's different. That doesn't bother me whatsoever. It is grittier, and I like the fact that the hero is not really the primary leader in all of this, right? Or maybe she will be. I'm not really sure, but at least we are following her story and her struggle along with the other characters. So the first episode, the second episode, I was okay. The third episode, the thought I had in my head was, darn you, CBS, for making me pay to see this stupid thing that now is getting good. Maybe it was third or fourth episode. I don't even know. How far are we into them?
4.
Okay, so yeah, it was the third episode I had that thought, which means that, okay, I'm going to pay $10 a month for those 8 episodes. So I'm going to spend $80 to see these 8 episodes. And, given the consideration of things, I know they're already working on season 2. So with that, I am probably going to continue I'm going to pay about $120 a year for one show, more or less. Yeah, I'll probably watch some other shows on the CBS All Access online only channel thing.
Okay. But my question was, is it good or bad in your opinion?
Right. And so that was it. That's what I was getting to, is it good? It's getting good. I like it, and I feel that I'm vested in it now. I don't think I will give it some credit for not doing what we expect. But I also want to see if they're going to waste my time, right? And I think the first and second episode they were establishing, and then they pivoted in the third episode, and then they're starting to deepen the story structure. So right now I'm holding on. I'm waiting. I'm in. They got me in a third episode, and fourth episode I'm still invested in.
I think that the first 2 episodes had me a little bit, down on it, and was like, yeah. But I already had Netflix, so I was always going to watch the other episodes, because I'm not paying for a separate, thing. So I get it basically for free. The problem is that the first 2 episodes for me it was too much of creating like a backstory for a character, like the origin story of a character for the first 2 episodes, and there was not really anything of the actual story in the series, right? So that could have been like 1 episode and maybe some flashbacks later on. But I kind of understand why they're doing this, because they only have 10 episodes. This also kind of prevents them from going into we have to fill these 2 episodes, so we have to do bottle shows and that kind of crap. And I think that might be a good thing. The problem is going to be waiting for the next season. If they ever, if they pull off this season, and then it's going to be another year for another season, it's going to be the same problem that The Expanse currently has, right? To keep focus on the series.
Mm-hmm. I think you have the advantage of like something like Netflix, or even with what I have is it's a streaming, it's a streaming only kind of situation. So as a direct result of that, you'll have the advantage of going back and sort of marathoning it to get context later on before you watch the next season.
Well, for The Expanse, for example, I have the context because I've read the books.
Yeah.
But for this, there's no books, so there's no, I do think that the third episode is definitely the change to, like, hey, there's more to this than, generic. I thought that at first, it was going to be about the first officer of, that first ship, right? That's what I first thought.
Mm-hmm.
And then, oh no, she's suddenly a traitor and a pirate, basically. So yeah, I think that...
one of the things I recognize about the story structure, it's more like a way a maybe I want to say like a good anime story is done, right? The person who is the opposition to your expectation is the one who is the strongest, is the one who's going to lead everyone forward, but still remains to be powerless. And so I think this is that kind of story idea again. We saw that in Eva. We see this in most good anime. I just choose Eva because I think that's a quick one I get to in my head that I know that you'll connect up with a reference.
Yeah.
Where it's sort of that the powerless geek, except she's not powerless as an individual. As an individual, she's strong, she's smart, and she's steps ahead of most people. And I think that's the establishment we made about her in the first 2 episodes, is that she is good for leadership. It also establishes some of her past, which is now haunting her because she is now a part of their future. And she's the one who's haunting them. But in the perspective that we're seeing mostly is we're looking at it from mostly her experience most of the time. So we get to see what's going on, again, from her being the powerless hero who is not the hero in the context of the world, but we ultimately know she's going to be our hero as we go forward, right? She's the one we're rooting for despite the fact that she's at an opposition because of something that she thought she did in the past. Honestly, I would think that if it followed through, she would be the hero in general, right?
Yeah.
She'd be the one who started the war, but for good reason, right? And instead, what we're reminded of is she was stopped, and now she's now considered a traitor, and now it's all her fault, and blah, 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 blah. But she's going to be saving the day a lot more than we realize. And it has to do with her saving the day because she's smart. And that, I think that's a trope that Star Trek employs pretty often, is they save the day out of being smart, not out of failing upwards.
Well, I think that it has plenty of good things going for it. Also has some bad things that I don't like. I think that's where some studio executives came in and said, "Oh, I want it to spin," for example. That irritated me so bad. Also, the Tardigrade Navigator, that was kind of
Yeah. Okay. So maybe a little lame. Okay.
I mean, the disc doesn't need to spin. Really, that's the same thing that happened to Stargate, where it needs to spin, basically, right?
Yeah.
Why?
You're right about that. That's a little thing that's like, The other thing is, it was kind of, I don't know. I guess we're used to push a button, really cool thing happens, boom, they're there, and they didn't do that at all. They did what, like, again, anime does. They did a transition scene.
Well, they did a thing where there's 2 types of spinning going on, right? So there's one thing that's the disc, right? That's spinning on the inside. That happens, and then there's the one where it just the entire ship rotates, and then it's suddenly in a different location. But It starts with the spinning of the disc, and the spinning of the disc is like, I don't get it. I don't see why that works, right? So that I get that it's sort of like a transition between 2 places, but I don't know. But aside from that hokiness, right? I think that's hokey. I think they shouldn't put that in there. They can do much more interesting ways of transportation. I think that the warp, the way they handle warp, how that looks, is kind of good. It's kind of like the same way they do it in the movies, with the new movies, where they just give a boom.
Look, I'll interject for a real quick moment. Actually, that's probably a lie, and nothing I do is quick anymore, is it?
Yeah.
I will let them explain their technology. I think it's kind of weak sauce. I agree with that. If we were not more of a technologically minded civilization with some understanding of science or our opinion that we are more rooted in understanding science or what's believable or not, we probably wouldn't think twice about it. I agree with you. This sort of biological warping is a little okay. I'll let it be for now. I'll let him explain it. There's a lot of things that you just can't. You just sort of have to sweep under the carpet for a little bit. Until they can give a good reason to clean it up. So I'm gonna give them that at least till this season. I hope it gets a little better. Yes, the spinning thing is a little unnecessary. The tardigrade, the amplified tardigrade. Yeah, I mean, look, if they wanted to be cutesy about it, they make it look like a cute bear instead of a tardigrade. But tardigrades do exist. They're all over your body. Yep. You got plenty of pet tardigrades on you.
Yeah, but I'm not warping into other planets and shit.
Because they don't like you. That's why.
No, okay, that's why. Okay, maybe they do like me and don't want me to teleport.
Yeah, that's true.
But I think that if they would hook it up into some sort of alien thing that they found out this technology from something else, or have like a real mystery behind it. Besides, oh, well, you walked into the thing and now you know about it and now you're part of the crew and yay. And it needs to be darker and there needs to be more behind it than that just, we found the tardigrade and now we can travel.
No, okay, so I will give them some credit, and I guess this is maybe more what Star Trek does versus other things like your Stargate or most of your sci-fantasy things is they aren't like, well, we found the thing. We don't understand the thing. We'll never understand the thing for 20 years, but let's utilize the thing. We figured out how to hack into the thing and so that we can do stuff, right? They don't do that. They go, well, we figured out how to and discovered this, and boom, we are now smart, powerful engineers, right? That's what Star Trek has mostly been about. They don't do it like most shows do. They conveniently shadow a bunch of BS reasons for things to cobble together. And so, as much as I like Stargate, that's what they did. Right? They gave easy, convenient answer, and then they tried to explore what that was eventually. But that was after they had an abundance of established universe and world to work off of. And most shows aren't going to get that library to work in, right? They're just not going to get that.
It's also that in other Star Treks that take place later in the history, you have no reference about this, right? So either they're all gonna end up really, really dead, and nobody's gonna talk about it ever again, which is probably what's going on. Because if this is so great, why aren't they using it later on, right?
Right, and I think I can understand that's more of a legal thing, because I think Paramount has the ownership of the Next Generation branded branches, where CBS I think was the original. I'm not really sure. I always thought NBC was the original broadcaster, but I guess it must have been CBS, or CBS bought the rights to Star Trek before or after TNG to the classic stuff. So this is based on the classic branch, not the Next Generation world.
Well, it's all in the same universe, right? That's all in the same universe. Right. The Prime universe, basically. Now, if you take a look at something like Stargate, you have Stargate Universe, right? Which is last 2 seasons of Stargate ever made.
Yeah.
Sadly. Now they had a problem where they found technology way above their heads, and they had to learn to deal with it, which was an interesting story. And I think that in this case they kind of have that kind of thing going on with the spores, the spore teleportation thing. And yeah, I think that there could be some stories about it breaking down and leaving them in places where they're not supposed to be, or way, way away. And I'm also kind of curious because Voyager had like the theme of they have to go home, where they are actually, the Voyager name was kind of like a token of the this is going to happen, right? They have to go on a voyage. I hope that they're going to do something with that with Discovery, because otherwise the name Discovery is kind of dodgy, right? I hope that they're going to do. The other one was called the Glen, so I don't know how Discovery and Glen as sister ships go together.
Yeah, I don't know either. Look, so Discovery, right, was meant to be a science ship, right? Okay, a science ship that's now a warship, and given that it's now a warship, but it was out there as a science ship, it's a pretty powerful science ship.
Well, that's what they did in DS9, right, with the Defiant.
Right, they took a little thing.
Defiant was the first warship they made.
Yeah. So, okay, so it is what it is. And I look at Discovery as more of the scientific side of the labeling instead of the, like Enterprise, like Voyager. We're going to go out there and discover. They're not discovering. They're immediately started into a war, right? And that's what's going to keep our story and our thread lines moving. Because when we don't have war, life is boring. That's why people pick fights, right? They pick fights.
Do you think it's going to be mostly the Klingon War?
I don't know, but that's what it is right now. It's going to remain to be that. They keep the Klingons as this mysterious evil enemy, and they're going to keep bringing that out for a while, at the very least this whole season, probably into next season. I mean, if you think about it, and I didn't think too much about it when it was happening, but in Next Generation, the Borg War was, ever present all the time.
Yeah, in DS9 they had the Dominion.
Yeah, and so, but at least with DS9, that was about that. That's what that thing was about, right? And in Next Generation, that's not what Next Generation was designed.
It took them 2 seasons to get to the Dominion, so.
Right.
Here they started straight away in the first episode.
Right, yeah. So
Klingons.
You would think in a universe where we meet other people, there's going to be conflict, and that's a reality of life in general. So, I mean, that can be an easy truism. The question is, how often are we going to be swimming in it? And those are the things where I won't pay. My rant about the cost of it is the fact that it's not like, oh, well, I'm already paying this thing, even if I'm only utilizing it 3% of the time, I'm only paying one price. No, I'm exclusively paying a price to watch this thing, and it convinced me enough that there's something going on. I don't know if it's worth $120 of my money a year. Yeah. But there are other things on there that maybe will worthy a reward. I'll find stuff inside that, in that service maybe that will compensate a little bit.
Or Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, I was actually watching Young Sheldon, one episode.
Oh, no.
I have not seeked it out. It wasn't bad. I laughed well enough, given consideration. So
this is gonna be horrible. I haven't actually watched any of that, so.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't watched more than an episode, so I don't really have any kind of opinion beyond that. But getting back to Star Trek, I am willing to pay a little bit of money now just to see where it's going to go. But if
are you going to cancel your subscription as soon as it ends?
I'm given that consideration if I don't find something else that's going to keep me along that shows it's worthy of me continuing to pay it. It's
do you know that they're gonna stop halfway through December?
I know that
continue in January.
Well, I'm pretty sure they're going to do something like that because it's 8 episodes, I think, right? So the first episode was what, 10, a 2-parter or 10, whatever it is. It's not as large as we expect. And I know they're already filming season 2.
Yeah.
So I'm aware of that. But where it's going to go, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think it's an interesting show so far. I'm already paying for Netflix, so for me it's not a problem. I wish that they put it on Netflix. Basically, they should have just made a deal with Netflix.
Yeah, but that speaks volumes more about the network that is financing this. They won't put it out on public TV, and they've put it into a walled garden that they want to make the utmost amount of profit on. And right now, at least in the U.S., they have a lot of they have some of the most popular shows on television. So as a network in general, they are not hurting from financing. So it's not like they need this to be at a $6 or a $13 or $12 cost for everybody to watch. Now, with that, at the very least, they're not doing what other networks have done with other unique TV services, which is, this show only costs $12, right? It's $12 access to all our stuff. So at least you have that. I give them that, but I'm still generally kind of miffed at them for, making us go out of our way to just watch, knowing that they're going to get a bunch of people who are, they're going to make a pretty good core amount of profit just from us who are interested in this one show. So
I don't think that if it would have been completely just Netflix, that it would have been the first few episodes would have been this much production value. Looking at the Marvel series, right? I wouldn't expect it to be, although you never know, because if you look at Stranger Things, for example, that's actually pretty good.
Yeah, but that's still, it surprises me when you look at it from a hindsight. That's not really big production. It is not. It's a combination of being really creative with your set designs and your your costuming, right?
Yeah.
And they aren't really showing anything all the time, and it's always dark. So they aren't really required to have very detailed. They just have to have things that have contrast and shadow that can be seen through the dark a little bit and apply a little bit of lighting. And so they oftentimes aren't showing anything, right? And so Stranger Things, everyone's in love with Stranger Things right now, but it's a pretty low production thing.
Well, that can still be very entertaining, right?
Sure.
I think that their show, that show, because it's so new. Well, not new because it uses the '80s as a thing, but because it has that Goonies feel, right? I think that's something that we apparently were missing.
Right? Not me, not for me, man.
You're too old, man. You're too old.
No, I didn't need a Goonies with a horror theme. That to me just doesn't apply.
I'm too much on the edge of being a millennial, so yeah. The generation you like to complain about.
Me, in general, no. I think, that's a whole different rant. I don't think it has to do so much with people who are young today. I think it has to do with people aren't willing or have a lack of care or understanding about, that nothing is free, right? So, but I'm gonna get into a rant. I don't need to get into. It's not important.
But speaking about things from the past, Blade Runner came out. Blade Runner 2049. I was kind of surprised to see all the negative press about it after the first weekend, saying, "Oh, it flopped and blah blah blah." I mean, it is not a flop, not at all. It's a great movie. I really loved it, and apart from the fact that my bladder was about to explode at the end of the movie, it was really good. I would like to go see it again. But yeah.
So it was dark. I don't know if it was really saying much for 2.5 hours. where was it spending the most time? Was it spending the most time pacing us into an atmosphere?
Yeah, it was showing the world.
How the world is today. Yeah, I think they could have consolidated that a little bit. But with that said, I sat there for 2.5 hours and I did have one thought about how long is this thing? How late is it? Like, I didn't have that thought at all. Where they weren't playing with the speed, knob, where they're like too intense, too not intense. It was just a very good, consistent pacing across the board with very consistent production value and consistent production quality. They didn't say much. They didn't do much. Things just eventually happened through whatever the pacing is. And by way of that, maybe that's like the pacing of when you read a book, right? It's your pacing. It's not this. No one touched the knob. They left it as is. But
did you go watch the first movie before you watched this one?
I was originally going to go see it with matinee on a Sunday, but it didn't turn out to be the case because my buddy called me up on Friday night and said, "Hey, you want to go see it now instead of Sunday morning?" And I'm like, "Okay." And we saw it Friday, and so I didn't have the bandwidth to go sit down and watch the original first because that was my plan. So I saw it without context, but I wasn't lost. I had watched that movie, the original movie, sometime long ago. Definitely not when it was current in the theaters, but long ago. And so for me, I didn't really know much about it. Or didn't remember much about it, and I wasn't lost in this movie at all.
Yeah, I think that without going into actual spoilers, I think that it was a very pretty movie. I think that's important to say. It was very. There was so much. It was a lot less suitable for minors than the first movie. Although the first movie did have some boobies and stuff in it. But the second movie, basically, there's a part that happens near a brothel, right? And it's not, hiding anything.
No, this movie is not for kids.
Yeah, definitely.
And definitely, like with the topic of, let's say, Star Trek, it is not like Star Trek. It is. We were having this conversation on OG, and I remember hearing myself make one comment when somebody asked a question about how close is it, how does it look and feel like the original movie, and my response to that would be that it has tenets. It has things that are like the world before, but different, more evolved, and yes, there's a scene where it's more about not so much video billboards as much it's about holographic technology, reinforcing, supplanting that it's the future.
Yeah.
The future that's desolate and apocalyptic. I can never say that word.
Apocalyptic.
Yeah. And that's what's really going on with their story kind of weaved in there a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't want to go into spoilers, but what else can I say about it? Yeah, it's definitely worth seeing.
It's worth seeing. It's not worth going out of your way to see it in IMAX 3D, screw up my brain vision. You don't need that. No one needs that. It's not necessary for this film.
I was kind of disappointed that it was in 3D.
It was?
Yeah, it was for me.
Oh,
okay.
And
I think they're doing that to prevent piracy. And I get that, but it's a gimmick, and please stop doing that.
Yeah, it wasn't worth it. That was the point. For that perspective of it, you don't need that. That wasn't necessary to see this film. I saw it in just normal 2D. It was perfectly fine. So,
you saw it in 3D?
No, I saw it in 2D.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, normal.
Yeah.
Standard, yeah.
Maybe
digital and big screen, but I didn't see it, where it was, half a mile tall and with plastic cheap 3D polarizing lenses on it.
Yeah, we have a cinema in the city here, and it has like their main thing is Dolby Atmos. It has like a Dolby Atmos theater. It's the biggest theater they have. They have like 8 or 9 rooms. They're actually pretty big. But there was the sound, the music, that whole thing that ties all together. It really did add something that I wouldn't have had on my phone later on watching it, like when I buy it on iTunes or something like that. I think watching this in the movie is probably a good idea.
If you're into, if you like this kind of sci-fi, this is not your average sci-fi. And I hate to say this, but I know that people are going to look at the movie like Transformers movies and go, yeah, sci-fi. Yes, no, and not exactly.
Wow. Right?
And so this is not like Transformers, right? There's not a lot of vapid CGI action for the sake of it. Yeah.
I wouldn't even come close to comparing it to Transformers.
But I'm doing it. I'm not making the comparison at all. I'm just saying to give insight for somebody who doesn't have any context. They might go in there and go, "Oh, this is a terrible movie. I was expecting things to transform and blow up and hot chicks." Yeah, you'll get attractive women in it. Yeah, absolutely. You'll get creepy sci-fi elements in it. Yes, absolutely. Will you get some action? Yeah, some good action. And you'll get Harrison Ford. All those things are there. But they're not there for useless purposes, for the sake of a small plot point. They're there for good reasons that serve the plot point that is related to the previous movie in some fashion or another.
Do you think they're going to make another Blade Runner movie?
I think they don't need to. I don't think they need to.
Well, like, at the end, they kind of left it hanging, right?
Yes, but think about the other movie, right? They left you unresolved too, right?
Well, there's 2 different versions, so right.
Okay.
So if you have the first movie, that there's 2 versions. One of them at the end, the spoilers for the first movie. If you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen it, please go watch it.
Well, there's whatever the original release, and then there's the director's cut.
Yeah, the theatrical release has voiceovers, has like explanation during the movie, and at the end, instead of closing at the elevator, it continues into a scene in a car. And them driving and stuff, an explanation about how Rachel will survive and stuff. That doesn't happen in the director's cut or the final cut. Like there's 2 different versions, and the final cut has some different lighting stuff going on. But that's the only difference between that and the director's cut. I think that I would like to see some more of this world, though. I'd like to have it resolved. Like, there is the whole theme in that movie about replicants, and I can't go into the...
You don't want to go into the details. That's fine. We can't without spoiling it. So,
okay. I'd like to have the theme that comes up during the movie about what replicants are. I'd like to have that more explained. I like to have see what's going to happen after the end.
I understand. You want this social commentary explored, and how our role with electronics going forward is going to develop. I get that. I understand that there is something of value there to explore. I don't know if this is...
Well, the replicants are not electronics, right?
Well, I was trying to be general without getting into the specifics without spoiling anything.
Well,
Yes, I mean we know at this point they're basically um, like androids.
that's not what they are in the first movie either.
Well,
They're not electronics. They're basically humans. They're
right.
genetically engineered humans, but they're not androids. Definitely not.
Well, and we use them, in the plot. They're being used more like for slavery purposes,
Yeah.
right? We treat them like our electronics. Is what I was trying to correlate without getting specific. It's like we abuse our phone. Oh, I cracked my screen. I'll just get a new one, right? I mean, these things that we're holding in our hands, they're enslaved to us. Now, are they thinking, walking, talking, and gonna get up and slap us, while we're half asleep? No, we haven't engineered a device like that yet. But well, replicants aren't, clones, whatever you want to codify it as, the same idea applies. If we could, same thing with like Star Wars and clones, right?
Yeah.
Same idea applies. We enslaved them. And that's the social commentary point.
Well, because we made them, we can
Right.
we own them basically. And that basically comes into the story of Jurassic Park as well.
Well, but that
It's like,
also
right.
becomes the story of was it Westworld, right? In the HBO series.
Yeah, I haven't seen much of that.
Right.
I haven't
So
finished the first season yet.
Yeah, so it's still that same kind of level of social commentary. It's still when we get so good at doing things, and we are now creating life. And when we create life, or we attribute or we promote life, like by creating plants and hybrid plants and whatnot. Again, this is a tangent. It could go on very deeply, which I'm trying to resist doing. So at the mastery of it, we enslave plants. I mean, you could take it real loosely and go that direction too. So I mean, I think that's the actual science fiction thought structure that's there, which is once we get so good at doing things and we are now creating things that are like us in our likeness, and then we put them to work for all of the abusive purposes, not good purposes. Are they real? Are they slaves? What are they? That kind of thing. So.
I think that I would have liked to have seen more about the Wallace Company. Besides what's going on with Kay, I think his name was, or
yeah.
Sorry, better cut that out. That's kind of a spoiler. Yeah, I think that I'd like to see more about that company. See what they have going on. Be more, I want to see what it is like off world, because you never see any about that.
Right. Yeah. Sure.
You see ads, but nothing about.
They sprinkle that out
world.
there,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. This is what I guess Earth is, left over as. The one thing that was an interesting, this gets into spoilers. So let's leave it at that.
Yeah,
let's stop talking about it, because there's nothing we can talk about without actually having a full level conversation about the whole movie. And I think that's just unfair to anyone who hasn't seen it yet. So,
but the guys at Tested did a very good spoiler cast. I think we should link that in there somewhere.
Okay.
Have you seen that one?
I'm not. No. I am hit or miss when I have time to listen or watch any of the tested stuff that are long format. Yeah. If it's like 10 minutes long, I'll put it in the background and I'll watch it occasionally while I'm doing something else.
But Adam Savage is in one of the prequel videos, like the 2048. Yeah. And I missed it the first time I saw it. I was like, yeah. So he was supposed to be in this one. Where is he? I didn't see it. And then suddenly you see him when he's trading in the blood. It's like, yep, okay.
I saw the little snippet where they were dressing him up. I didn't even know. I didn't catch it at all. The only catch that Pan Am still exists. And apparently, I didn't catch this, but again, someone on OG had mentioned that Atari still exists, apparently.
Yeah. There's a giant Atari sign in there somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah. I saw Pan Am. I wasn't searching for things. So.
Yeah. I think that if you go watch it multiple times, like the first time you're trying to follow the story, and then the second time you're going to go over it and see more details and things. I haven't seen a movie in the cinema twice I haven't seen it since Iron Man 2. So, yeah. Yeah, I might go see it again. Kind of want to watch it again. Okay. Before we head into spoiler territory, let's just move on to something else.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
Yep.
Okay, so I guess I got one. It's not that I didn't know who these guys were. I just never really paid any attention or time, or maybe their old stuff didn't interest me. But Jack and Dean, two English YouTubers that are funny, and they kind of have their own little TV show inside the thing. And I guess they're part of one of those multi-network, like online YouTube type things, full screen. I guess they're sort of employed or part of the MCN there. And so they have their own TV show inside full screens, like app and whatever. And so they put some of those out on their channel. Jack and Dean, Polymatic.link/BV.
I fixed your link for you.
Oh, was it? What was it? Okay. So Polymatic.link/BV. Funny. This one goes to the computer episode. I should check it.
Yeah, it does.
It does. And so if you can't get beyond that level of humor, then you won't like any of their other stuff.
They try to do with joy.
Yeah, I spent maybe last weekend, maybe one evening or something, just watching a bunch of most of their more recent stuff. You go way, way back, like several years, it's like hit or miss. All the right elements are there, but I think they really kind of honed what they produce today. And there's a lot of good stuff on their channel. A general recommendation to follow them, and then if you have full screen, to go check out more of their stuff on full screen. I've only seen some of the TV episodes that have been released in this channel. So with that said, I think their TV show is Jack of All Trades. Again, loosely based, but creates a construct for them to be their comedy stylings. So
yeah. So that full screen thing, is that like something they can also get in Europe?
I don't know. I know it's full screen is one of those MCNs, multi-content networks, where they say, hey, you're a YouTuber with numbers and things and stuff. We can take advantage of you. We will employ you and give you sponsors and we'll give you editors and own your content unknowingly. And right, those are full screens. One of them, one of the first was a Big Frame is another one. There's a whole bunch of them, some of the original ones, and full screen was one of those larger ones that got a lot of the big YouTubers early on and made them all kind of wealthy.
Yeah, because I know that there's like one of the YouTubers I follow, Jacqueline Glenn. She has a series about skepticism and stuff on there. And I was like, yeah, maybe I should try and get that.
So I don't know if it's good.
It's $5.99 a month. I don't know if it's actually worth the $5.99.
Right. So the same thing with like YouTube. YouTube has YouTube Red, right?
Which is unavailable in the Netherlands.
Yeah. Oh, is it? Yeah. And so there are, you got your Good Morning America and all those kind of shows.
Yeah, Good Mythical Morning
or Mythical Morning. I said Good Morning America, which is a TV show in the
totally
US.
different thing. Yeah.
I couldn't think of their names.
Having those hosts do all those let's eat stuff, that would be nice. That would be funny.
Well, the point is that they're all kind of based on some kind of MCN, and then saying, well, we're going to create original content like HBO does. That works really great for them. And than they do. And
Yeah.
then you get these MCNs that have a little weight and they have wealth, and then they have good talent pool because they have a bunch of YouTubers that produce good things or can do good things, and they give them money. And then they go ahead and they produce small films, or they produce a TV show exclusively on full screen, right? And so
Yeah,
Jack
I wish
and Dean do that.
I just wish they would expand YouTube Red into other places than just North America. I don't think even Canada has it.
Oh, really?
Because I can get the episodes, I can buy them, and then I can play them whenever, and I don't have to keep YouTube Red, which is kind of okay. But I'd rather, have that service, and I'd pay for that, because you also get like Google Music and stuff for that, and you'd all get it in one go. I just don't understand why they're not expanding it here.
I pay for YouTube TV, though I don't use it enough. Again, it's one of those $10 a month thing that I think I'm just wasting my money on. I can be patient. I don't have to necessarily, see. There are some TV shows on some TV networks around here that just have decided not to participate in the Netflix things quickly, or the Hulu things quickly, or at all. And in those cases, YouTube TV allows me to, watch a recorded, cloud-based DVR version of it. But to that point, I get at least access to the YouTube Red originals. I don't get access to YouTube Red. I just have access to YouTube Red originals. And so, like, Lifeline is the thing that Corridor Digital has created. So I was watching an episode of that. And so I'm paying for one thing and I'm getting access to the YouTube Red stuff. But I got to be honest, I can't say that all the TV shows, put air quotes around that, shows that are made there are all like worth a lot of my time, or exclusively to go pay YouTube Red for it. There's some of them are good. Good Mythical Morning is fun, but I don't have enough time in my day to be watching all that stuff. So
well, Good Mythical Morning itself is still like a normal YouTube show, but they had a series called Buddy System. Then I have a new version of that.
Yeah, and that's all on YouTube Red.
And Vsauce has Minefield, which was interesting. Yeah. I saw the first episode. I might buy some of those episodes, but then again, $2.50 per episode is kind of a lot of money for something you only watch once.
Well, I mean, we're going way off tangent, but like for example, Orville, right? Orville is in contrast to like Star Trek, right? Discovery. It's a complete opposite.
Yeah, not available here.
But I really have been enjoying it. And again, I think these are the things that some of the novel stories about like Star Trek Classic I probably would have enjoyed. I've not watched many of them in my life. It's not normally where I gravitate. But I can see I appreciate they're doing something different, and they're staying way more rooted in being more sci-fi than not. And so I really enjoy that. So for me, it's free via Hulu, and free being I pay for Hulu as a general service, so I get plenty of things that makes it, whatever it's $10, $14, $15 value a month worth something to me. But I went on Amazon and I bought the season 1. Because I want to show that there's a strong interest there. So I spent $25. It's one time. And if Fox goes along and cancels it, okay, so I've already bought the season. But in the same respect, I want to show in all the right places that they have the right support. So in some places, yes, I might buy a full season of something, even if I'll never watch it on that service. I just want it to be shown that people are interested in this thing. Right, I got to show my support one way or another, aside from just sort of free riding the free cost of it. So that was just sort of a minor rant around you're paying for it. So I mean, if you really do like it, to the people who are concerned about doing things online only, that stuff holds a lot more weight to them than like a TV network here in the U.S.
Well, I just wish that those services would go into other countries. I mean, they could make a lot of money on that instead of going through cable companies and stuff. Just break that system. I mean, It's being broken in the U.S., and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Direct to people broadcasting is probably a good idea. It saves you paying. I think that in the U.S. $100 per month for a cable subscription is normal.
It is
I
actually.
just can't imagine that.
It's even worse. So, when I switched away from one cable carrier, the dominant one, and they happen to be Philadelphia. They're not. Their origin isn't Philadelphia based, but they're Philadelphia dominant, meaning they have big, skyscraper towers. They're building a second one. They're almost done in the city of Philadelphia. And as a company, operation, because I've worked there, they got, they employ smart people, and they generally do smart things, but their tactics as a big company are always not the greatest, right? That's what happens to big companies. But to that point, there's like little tricks. Like, as a customer, my experiences when I rolled in this place, I moved in here, I don't know, more than 5 years ago, the cost of my service with phone, internet, and TV with HBO cost me around $175. And many years later, because I couldn't choose a different carrier, I couldn't choose a different cable carrier, or get internet from somebody else that was of any high speed until recently, I couldn't switch. I was locked into one option, right? And that's, again, part of a larger problem here in the U.S. By the time I said I'm done, my cable bill was something over $270 a month for the same service. When the cable went out most of the time, it was supposed to be promised 25 down, 15 up, and it was more like 7 down and maybe 3 up most of the time. It was bad when my T-Mobile phone had faster speeds than my house wired line. And so the cable company didn't, they
didn't care.
They didn't care, and they happened to know that you didn't have any other options. So they took advantage of it, and they still do, as a large company. And so I was, when I had an option, I switched off. Now I pay about $108, and I have 150 down and 150 up. And
how much do you pay?
$108 for internet only. And all my TV is literally coming off these streaming services. With the exception of my roommate, I had absolutely zero reason to keep the TV service. I will tell you just like one example of many examples of that I had conversations with my roommate. And he's like, well, you're getting all that stuff, right? So are you going to get Stars Network so we could watch Black Sails? I go, no. They're asking $16 a month on that network. How many shows? There are other shows you've watched, but how many of those shows have you watched you like the most out of that network? Just one. Yeah, me too. Is that worth $170 a year when you can be patient and get to Christmas time and spend $25 for the season on Blu-ray? Well, I guess not. Yeah. So you got to start thinking about these things, because we just kind of give money away loosely to things without any real thought. And I realized, wait. If I have $1,000 back, I could buy the Pixel 2, right? I could buy a new camera or lens or a drone or a computer or a laptop right? And we just kind of toss our money away without thought. And that's exactly what they want.
Yeah. Do you when we pay a month? Would I pay a month for my internet service?
It's like $30, right? And you get gig Ethernet or gig net?
No. I pay $55 a month, euros, and I get 100 down, and I get 50 up, I think.
Yeah.
But I got that because I wanted to go stream, and I still have I used to have the highest thing. Now I have the middle tier, I think.
Yeah.
And I can get higher speeds now. I think they just rolled out fiber in my neighborhood. already.
Yeah,
So.
I have fiber in the house now, and that service they are offering the gig Ethernet, and so some part of me is saying no, you should just pay a little extra cost because what it's costing you now is nothing by comparison to what you're used to. Just to show your support for it. Do I really need gig Ethernet? No. I mean, the 150 up and down is fast.
Yeah.
Once I changed out my Wi-Fi network with Google Wi-Fi, I made the Wi-Fi and the Ethernet throughout the house more equal. Before I had, even though it's supposed to be like real expensive Wi-Fi routers with bazillion of antennas and all kinds of protocols and stuff on it, they just weren't fast enough. And I was never getting the speed of which I was paying for my internet provider service, right? And now I am. I'm literally almost 1-to-1.
Yeah, because I stream a lot. I actually use the uplink. So yeah. I don't think they like me very much over there. But
I noticed mine kicked out when I was working from home. My VPN was getting upset because it would ditch out for a little bit, and then I would start putting a ping stream up, and then all of a sudden it would come back. Because I understand that even though I have a 1-to-1 fiber connection, most of these internet companies they depend on people not being home all the time and utilizing their internet service all the time. Like they depend on that. They're betting on the odds, right? They do.
Anyway, we were talking about Star Trek earlier.
Like an hour ago.
Yeah, I've been watching some Star Trek DS9, and I looked up some stuff on YouTube about DS9, and then suddenly the YouTube algorithm told me to watch this video: Star Trek Voyager's Impossibly Tiny Planet. Polymatic.media. It's about the intro. The YouTube intro.
The intro to
the
Voyager. Yeah.
And there's about the size. It's when the Voyager goes over the rings around the planet, and then it shows you how big the planet actually is. So yeah, it's kind of
I mean, I watched the video.
If they would have just not put the reflection on there, nobody would have known.
Or would have actually gone through this effort.
Yep. So Polymatic.media.
Yeah. I mean, look, that's when someone put a really awesome looking visual together for the show opening. And that's what it becomes, right? Okay, so this is just a channel that I feel like I probably shared. I've certainly in person, in real life, I've shared this channel a lot. Rocket Jump, Freddie Wong and his group, those two guys have created Rocket Jump and do really awesome stuff. They used to do almost on a weekly basis really awesome, funny little shorts, like film shorts. And they are now doing more things behind the scenes and doing lots of stuff. And actually, I always thought it was kind of like a joke. I think they actually do have like a little bit of a film school going on. But anyhow, Curve the Bullet is the short that they put out recently, polymatic.link/BM.
Okay.
And I thought it was funny. Yes, forget that. I knew you were going to do that. It is, So I don't know. Did you watch it?
I did watch it. What do you think it was going to do?
What? BM. Nothing. Don't worry about it. It's not important to explain.
Okay.
It really isn't. I
totally missed something, apparently.
I thought your okay was like picking up on that. It's fine.
Okay. Cube Rush is somebody, I think he goes by Cube Rush. I follow a long time on YouTube. Does a speed paint. It's actually pretty cool. Polymatic.link/BJ. Okay.
I will say that the art is awesome. The end result is great. But for me, if you took out the little nymphs in his picture, that would still be a pretty awesome picture, right? Yeah. So that's the only thing that gets me. Every once in a while, you get like, oh, okay, you had to do that, I mean, still amazing, but yeah. Okay, so this is OpenAI. Do you know about OpenAI?
Yep. It's a thing that Elon Musk started, right?
Yeah. And I thought it was intriguing. I saw this video a while ago. It's it's something about OpenAI and Polymatic.link/bn. It's a little long format, but I don't know. I thought it was interesting. What'd you think, John? Did you watch it?
I watched part of it because I kind of just clicked the links just before we started recording, but
Oh, okay, got
I
it.
skipped
So you
through
haven't
this.
seen
But
everything.
it kind of looks kind of scary because it was like doing the tactics and things, and yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's a very impressive AI system. Look, this is the theme. This has been a theme for a while, but it is now actually happening more often. Google released a lot more stuff. The message under the hood is we are now doing more things that have to employ more machine learning into our solutions.
Well, it's kind of funny that 99% of the time they don't know what the search query is actually doing, right? There's no person involved. There's no, right? Google doesn't know how the search is working anymore.
They let it self-learn.
Yep.
That's what they do. So.
That's Polymatic.link/bn.
Yes.
The
as in Nancy, as in
new.
Yep.
Or noob. Have you seen the new trailer for The Last Jedi yet?
I have.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Did
saw
you
it.
like the porgs?
Hmm?
Did you like the porg?
The
bird. The bird thing.
Oh.
The porg. Everybody's talking about it on the Twitters.
Yeah. No, it didn't.
Huh?
It didn't leave any impression on me.
No, it's not going to be like Darth Jar Jar or anything, but
No.
But it did like the trailer. It did give me well, yeah.
I
Give
think
me a
that
good
the
feeling
way
about the new movie.
I think the way they end this trailer is I'm hoping that it's a misdirection.
Yeah, it's definitely misdirection. They're not going to do that. Or
Yeah.
if they are going to do that, I'm going to be very upset and not watch the movie.
I hope it's a misdirection. That's what I call it. So yeah, that was Polymatic.link/BK.
BK. Yep.
That's in Burger King.
No.
Okay, so I didn't buy a Pixel 2. I'm still on the first thing. I don't even know if I can. I'm sure they're all sold out right now. The new Google Pixel 2 they came out with them. But anyway, so I saw this little thing. This channel looks like it's not, but it is a channel to deeply explore Google topics in a friendly way, not for technical-minded people like us, but still impressive nonetheless. And it talks about the Pixel 2 camera and sort of the technology behind it, and this Polymatic.link/br.
Nat and
Friends or something.
Yeah, but
like
she
that.
used to have like a partner in there doing other
really?
stuff. Yeah, they go on trips and stuff.
I never knew about the channon at all, but clearly this was sponsored by Google, or she works for Google, or whatever the case is. Yeah.
It's an interesting channel to follow as well. So that's Polymatic.link/br, right?
Yep.
Okay. We were talking about Bladerunner earlier, so Polymatic.link/bi. Lore in a minute. Bladerunner. They kind of explain some things about Bladerunner if you haven't been caught up yet. It's kind of funny, sort of.
Is it BI or BL?
BL, I think.
Yeah. So Polymatic.link/BL. L for lore?
Lore in a minute.
Yeah. Okay. I feel like I probably have shared this video before. Certainly it was in my links for the longest time. There was this sort of TED Talk about this guy was talking about like telemarketers, or, look, I still have a landline, and it gets a bunch of spam calls all the time, but I used to get a ton. For me, I still get a ton of spam by email, and I get a ton of like missed calls. I have a work phone that who knows who the previous person was, but clearly that person treated their phone like dirt because it gets 8 calls a day for the same kind of these spammers. So this guy works in the telephone industry, and he came up with a creative way to defeat them. And Jolly Roger Telco, I think, is this company. I guess anybody could employ this. It's all basically online in the cloud kind of solution. But here's his TED Talk, Polymatic.link/BP. I feel like I have shown this video before. I certainly know I've shown it or told people about it in person. It's not new, but I thought it was intriguing. Did you watch this?
I did watch part of it, and it's kind of like what I wanted to do with some people that keep calling me. Keep getting calls from Switzerland for some reason.
You can, I don't know the cost is that much, but you could, get his service and forward your phone if you can, work it out to these things. If you go to his websites, usually they have like the catch of the day where you can listen to one of these calls that one of these spammers get looped into. But basically, he figured out the core of this conversation piece is that he figured out the expense. To them, if they get your answering machine, they leave you a message, right, and tell you to call their 800 number or blah, 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 or spam you with like IRS or something, right? These things are all have increased as a problem because of our VoIP technology, right? Voice over IP. And because of VoIP, we have this big problem. And there are, again, this goes back to that conversation about the spammers in India that we had talked about in the past and that Reply All deeply went into. This is because anyone in the world...
Their response was very good.
Yeah.
Just harasses everybody there.
Yeah. And so, I mean, the very, very thing is this is a big problem and it's ever increasing and it costs almost next to nothing for people to abuse it. When I still had an answering machine, I used to get somebody who was a robocall was leaving satellite sales. If I picked up the phone, they would hang up on me. But if it went to the answering machine, they would eat up all 5 minutes of recording with their automated message, because that's the only way they were getting people to listen to their message and know about their terrible satellite sales, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so, isn't that illegal now?
It didn't stop. It was illegal when they were doing it in the past. They're still
doing it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, first thing, my answering machine today, basically, you call the home line, it goes beep, and that stopped a lot of recruiters from calling me. They're like, for months, they were like, Alan, hello, because
you should make one of those. Hey, it's Alan, and then
and so. Yeah, so anyhow, another long rant, not needed. Jolly Roger Telco, Polymatic.link/BP. I don't know. It was an interesting TED Talk. I have not employed this service. I think if I move, I'm just going to kill the landline in general, period.
Yeah. Nobody needs the landline anymore.
It does serve a purpose for a local area. When there's like weather or storms or something, they call all the local landlines and they leave messages. So it does actually serve some good purpose.
Kind of useful if all the telephone lines are taken out by a storm.
I'm doing fiber, so if they take out the telephone lines, the fiber's still running because it's underground around here. As long as they got power.
Yeah.
Okay.
You got some music.
Oh, I do. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, I put books in between, but I forgot to link the things. So yeah.
Oh, okay. Skip it this time. Okay, so yeah, I found these three people recently. I don't know how you say this person's name, but maybe Simmel, but SYML. Polymatic.link/BS. And then Caitlin Tarver, Polymatic.link/BT, and Caroline Pennell, Polymatic.link/BU. SYML has one kind of sound, and that's there's some to consume. There's something to consume, right? There's more than a song, and there's variations of it. I don't know. I'm going to follow this person for a little bit and see where they go. Caitlin Tarver's been doing this, I guess, for a little bit, more than a little bit. There's some stuff to grab. Didn't know about her until I just sort of discovered her, recently. It varies. It's not all like pop. Sometimes it's kind of like deep. I want to see where this goes to. That was Polymatic.link/BT. And then Caroline Pennell, again, sort of hard to tell. She's more like SYML, but not exactly. She's got remixes and some other things going on. And the song that's sort of stuck in my head is a Caroline Pennell song. So those are my finds for people to go check out.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you listen to any of them?
No, I didn't get to these before it was 4 o'clock.
Okay,
So.
I'd be curious though. I think maybe 2 out of the 3 you might like, but they're not eccentric or weird or anything. They just are what they are.
Okay. Well, I think that's it for this week. It went fast.
It did not.
It did not. Okay.
It did not. Not for the people listening.
Okay, so where can they find you, Alan?
You can find me on Twitter. CHAESS. That's my last name.
You can find me on Twitter as well as under WebDevy, WEBDEVVIE. For feedback, you can reach us at podcast@Polymatic.media. Our Twitter is the Polymatic. Website is Polymatic.media. Our socials are on Polymatic.social. That kind of works again because I kind of broke the DNS for that. So go check that out. And I hope you tune in next time. Bye-bye.
The music in this episode was by Say Uns. It was licensed under Creative Commons Attribution and found on the Free Music Archive. You can find these tracks at shorter.com/PRK.